Well, I got tagged all the way from England. Alright, so apparently there's this thing going on YouTube where people are getting tagged and they have to answer 10 questions. I think I've only seen like 2-3 videos, but I'm sure they're popping up. I guess it's my turn, and I'm doing this really late at night. Can't sleep, so I figured, hey, why not? Let's do this. So I'm not going to say it's my best work, but we'll just, go off the top of my head with some stuff here, right? So I think the rules are is that when you do this, you've got to tag 3 people. I think each question has to refer to a Marvel and DC book. I don't know if it has to be current or not, but I'll try to keep it current. And the 3 people that I am tagging are going to be Redvitaminblue, Roger69501, and Pink Echoes. And I always feel funny, man. These guys comment pretty regularly on my videos. Their videos are well thought out. And so, I like to hear what they have to say. Alright. So the first question is favorite ongoing book with one hero. With DC and Marvel, I've really, the last 2 years with DC and probably the last 10 years with Marvel, I just really haven't been grabbing me too much. But, well, if I had to pick the 2, so I don't really have a favorite with those 2, but the 2 books that I think are consistent with the writing and stuff is probably Batman. And I want to say, I'm going to go with Batman, Scott Snyder and stuff, but I've been checking out Detective a little bit. Got this for 50 cents today. Just a straightforward story with the Man-Bat. Haven't read all the way through it. But yeah, the Scott Snyder Batman, at least the consistency of his writing is well done. And then Greg Capullo's art, I've seen his stuff from starting out in the days of Quasar as a tighter John Romita Jr. going to getting hired on Spawn and having, in drawing, in the style, if you will, of Todd McFarlane and stuff. The stuff that he's doing in Batman is just great stuff. Really nice tight pencils, great storytelling, some innovative work here and there. And then for Marvel, I think the videos that I've seen, everybody has said this, and I finally got to read an issue or 2 like that, and it's Mark Waid's Daredevil. And in this particular issue, what I've seen with Daredevil, what I've liked is that he's still embracing the history of Marvel. He's not shying away from it. He's got the Jester in here, and then he's got some older villains, Sons of the Serpent. That goes all the way back to the Silver Age, which was really cool. I think they were like, they popped up in the Avengers, like in the 30s, back in the day. Roy Thomas wrote those. So some really great stuff in here, and then, he pulls out some really cool Marvel characters. This was a Halloween issue, man, but, he pulled out some, some monsters there. Second question, favorite team book. Well, my favorite team book, I've always been a Justice League guy. So I'm going to go with the Justice League. I've read the issues that Jeff Johns has done. And not too much has really grabbed me. I read more with the Forever Evil, but, I'm a Justice League guy. My all-time favorite team book, funny enough, is probably Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, back from the 90s, man. You just never knew what you were getting with that. He genuinely wrote that book to where, it was real surreal, and it's kind of hard for a lot of people to warm up to Grant Morrison. Either you do or you don't with what he did on that book. But by the time that he had established his characters, Robot Man, Robot Man, oh my gosh, I'm going blank here. But anyway, by the time that he had wrote a few stories, and then they had the Doom Patrol meet the Justice League at that time, those characters were really creepy, so, you were just like, wow. They had a transvestite superhero wrapped in bandages, Rebus. Alright, and for DC, the favorite team book that I liked, it used to be, the Fantastic Four. I collected Avengers and Fantastic Four and stuff, but I'm still gonna go with Fantastic Four, mainly because of the the Thing is in there. That's the book that started, and I feel like they're not getting behind the book the way they should be. I'm not the only one who thinks this, so I don't want to act like it's my epiphany here, but a lot of people are starting to get around to seeing that since Sony owns the movie rights, and Disney owns the rights to all the other Marvel movies. That's one of the reasons I'm not really getting behind that book, you know, in my opinion. But we'll see how the relaunch goes that James Robinson's doing. Favorite hero? Okay, now this is a little different here. Okay, I love a bunch of DC heroes and stuff like that, but you got to think of it. He's really a more genuine hero than just put it on tights and stuff like that, and it's going to be Jor-El. That's Superman's dad. Okay, I've always said that, you know, everybody says the you know, comic books took off and stuff when Superman popped up and the superhero thing started back in 1938 and stuff, but none of that would have happened if it wasn't for Jor-El. I mean, think about what this guy did. You know, he had a little baby in his hands. We all know the origin of how Krypton was blown up, and he put his kid in the rocket and sent him to Earth, you know, and everything like that. But I mean, I really want you to like stop and think about that. You have your baby, you've got this rocket that's just big enough for the baby, more or less, and he's so fragile, and he's in your hands, and he's light, and the world's crumbling around you, and you've got your wife there and the mother, and both of them are letting this happen. They're really putting their baby into a rocket and sending it off. Okay, he saved his son while his planet was, you know, falling apart, and look what happened. So yeah, I mean, a little off kilter there. And then I go back and forth with Marvel. You know, Marvel's got a few heroes that, you know, you just kind of, yeah, they're good, man. I go back and forth between the Thing and the Hulk. And just for this video, you know, what did I do with it? I don't have it here. Anyway, I'm going to go with the Thing, okay? I'm going to go with the Thing, Ben Grimm. To me, he is the ultimate Marvel character, like what Marvel heroes are all about. You know, he was more or less the street kid who had to join the military to get off the streets, and then he kept bettering himself. He went to college, met Reed, and then, you know, by sticking by his friend, he ended up getting turned into a great big huge orange monster. Okay, the ever blue-eyed living Thing. It's clobbering time. The irony is that, you know, you saw the most humanity in that character, even though he was a monster. And, you know, everybody says, you know, to be a Marvel character, you have to be tormented and flawed or whine or bitch or something like that and stuff. And Ben is the best of all of that. Okay, he's just a well-rounded character to begin with. I mean, he's what a Marvel character should be. Okay. Favorite villain, and I didn't realize how similar these two villains were, the one for DC and the one for Marvel, until I had their names down and I was kind of looking at this, is Black Adam and Doctor Doom. And I've got video after video. Ghostcritic, who tagged me, even, you know, mentioned Doctor Doom himself and stuff. But in my videos and stuff, I don't think they've wrote a decent Doctor Doom story since Secret Wars. I mean, we're gone 31 years now, I think, of needing a decent Doctor Doom story. And for DC, it was Black Adam. I think I already said that. But Black Adam, I'll go ahead and tell you, when I was like 7 or 8 years old, there used to be this Saturday morning show. I think it was called Hero High or something. It was live action, and then they would have cartoons, you know, in the show. And they showed Captain Marvel cartoons, Shazam, and I saw Black Adam pop up. And then I started looking at some older comics and my stepdad and my uncles and stuff, and I knew I'd seen him before, but something about him being in that cartoon grabbed me. Years go by, you know, and I like Black Adam. He popped up here and there. And then when he popped up in the JSA in the early 2000s and Jeff Johns got hold of him, all of a sudden, man, he just took off, okay? He had this sense of entitlement, and you find out that, you know, he rounded him off, man. Back in ancient Egypt, I think it's where he was from and stuff, you know, turns out he was a protector of the people, and he still tried to do that. But he does it in a very medieval way. You know, he ripped Terror Man in half. He started getting to where he didn't touch the ground. He floated around because he was better than everybody else. Sense of entitlement, and I don't think he thinks of himself as a villain, even though he was hanging out with villains when it comes to his country, his homeland. You know, he's their hero. Okay, fear him or love him, they do both. And that's all I like Doctor Doom with Latveria. Doctor Doom doesn't realize he's a bad guy. He just thinks, he thinks, you know, he's deserving. He's entitled. He's the one that he's the one that knows best and stuff. And he rules this country with an iron fist and keeps them in the middle, you know, keeps them in a state of castles and stuff in the Middle Ages and stuff. In a way, but the people feared him, but they also respected him. And I think I remember reading the story, I want to say it was the Kirby and Lee one, where they actually got rid of Doom. Maybe it wasn't one of them. But they got rid of Doom and the people were lost, and everybody was just kind of surprised. I hope I remember that right. So, that's what's cool about them. I don't think they both even consider themselves villains. It's just that they just think they know better. They're the ones that have all the answers, and their way is the best way. And they're both pain. Dr. Doom was a lot of his problem is the death of his mother. And then, he does science in magic, and a lot of what he was doing that scarred his face and stuff was trying to figure out a way to get into somewhere in the afterlife. I want to say it was, I don't know if they established it was Mephisto or not, and I'm starting to ramble. But anyway, his whole point was he was trying to save his mother. They had a really great graphic novel, Marvel graphic novel, that were, I think Mike Mignola wrote it, and it was Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom going after his mom. It was really good. And then with Black Adam, they rounded off the character even more because you found out that he lost a wife and a kids, and then during 52, he married Isis, and then, she ended up dying and everything like that. So, a lot of pain with those characters. Marvel or DC? Now, that's a question that I'm not real comfortable with. I always say I'm a DC guy. I favor DC and stuff, but that absolutely does not knock out Marvel. To me, it's like Star Trek and Star Wars. They're both science fiction, but they're still their own thing. It's not really fair to compare them. Ethically, I like DC better than Marvel, but that's talking about like upper management and a lot of decisions made and stuff. So I'm going neutral on that one. Yes, I steer towards the DC characters better and stuff, but Marvel's got stuff I grew up and liked. Favorite event, and I'm assuming this is like crossovers or big events that are supposed to change everything forever and stuff. Oh man, I'm gonna go with Blackest Night, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you because Blackest Night was actually kind of fresh, and it was built upon some Alan Moore work. Decades before this, and it had touches of horror, but it was also not the Crisis. There was no multiple Earths going to be destroyed. There was no multiple versions of characters popping up and stuff, because that had been done over and over and over. And all of a sudden, man, it gets real personal. The dead are coming back, and it's all about emotions and the reaction of these people, of these heroes, seeing people, family, villains, or whatever, that had died. And that's why I made it just so good. And that's one of the few books where you could read the 8-issue series, 7-issue series of Blackest Night, and you can go out and you can get the crossovers or the 3-issue miniseries, and they were actually relevant to the story. You didn't need them, but it really enriched the story, and I've got them all. I finally have a complete set, and I didn't really see any stinkers in my opinion. Could be wrong, as in, you just bought it and it had nothing to do with Final Night. Now for Marvel, I'm going way back here, and my first choice was going to be Secret Wars, but then I realized which ones I was really excited about, and that was the Morlock Massacre. Morlock Massacre is where they took X-Factor and the X-Men and a Thor issue and Power Pack, and it was the first time that I saw, and this should be the late 80s, where this thing really ran through some books. There was really a storyline here. This is really in the sewers of New York, and the guys were kind of trilling around. You'd see a fight over here in this book, and a book or two later you see people walking up on the aftermath. And that really is kind of considered amongst a lot of X-Men fans exactly where that book splits in half, where it went from giant size X-Men to this is where it ends, and all of a sudden X-Men was this completely different beast after that. And and it really rejuvenated X-Force. It was a new title at the time. I think it started around issue 9 or 10 for that book, and that's the one where it really changes really started. You had the Angel lose his wings, and it led up to him becoming Archangel about a year later, 12 issues later or something like that. You had stuff like Kitty Pryde got to where she couldn't phase right or something like that. You had Colossus kill one of the Marauders in there. A few other things happened, and which led to Excalibur the book. It led to a great Wolverine Sabretooth fight after, and then it ended up having Psylocke versus Sabretooth, and that really established her as a good character, and everything that happened after that. The books really have never been the same since. You know, it's going way back. Least favorite book, and this one I think matches Ghostcritic's too, I think, and you know, I'm just glad I make these videos because I think I can't remember if I put it in a video or if I talked to somebody about it, but I got an issue of the Guardians of the Galaxy because Angela was in it, and I flipped through it and I read it, and I think I got another issue, and I was like, what is this? And that book, it was just pointless. I was just, what is this about? So my least favorite book right now is Guardians of the Galaxy, or anything with Booster Gold. Don't tell me you didn't see that coming. Book I read that most others hate. Now, I stopped collecting the book when James Robinson stopped, and actually I haven't seen hide nor hair of it around here since then. Haven't heard anybody talking about it, but Earth 2. I was really enjoying that book, and I know there's a few other people that were, but I really was picking up a lot of negativity for that book. I don't know. I didn't like the pacing of the books, but I don't like the pacing of any of the DC 52 books. Feels like a lot of stuff is drawn out, and when it shouldn't be, it could pick up the pace. A lot of it feels like it's lying on the floor. But Earth 2, I was really getting into what they were doing. Nicola Scott's the artist. I think she's Australian. Some of her redesigns were really good. I was digging her art. Her storytelling was well done. They popped in Mr. Miracle there for a little bit. Dr. Fate looked fantastic, you know. But James Robinson was definitely doing the technique where I call it, you know, Legos. He was definitely like laying down a foundation, and he was building on it. He had long-term plans for that book, and you could feel the momentum going. That's the payoff, you know, slow storytelling, but the momentum was building to build up to something bigger. Least favorite event for Marvel, it was Avengers Disassembled. That's when that was a while back. That's when Bendis took over, and he just completely blew the hell up out of the Avengers. Okay, and my problem was that when I was reading this, that all the characters of the Avengers, they run outside and they see an invasion going on or something, and Hawkeye dies, and the Vision's tore all to pieces. I think they even blew up the mansion or something. It's been a while because I sold those issues. I hung in there. And what got me is that nobody was acting in character. Okay, this is something that the Avengers could have handled. They've handled it before. And let's say that it was something that the Shocker got them or something, you know, something like that. None of them reacted like their characters. You know, they weren't even amateurs and stuff. They were just kind of standing around like, oh, what the hell's going on and stuff like that. And there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse. These guys are seasoned professional heroes that have been around forever. They fought in Kree Skrull Wars and you know, they've been took down by the Masters of Evil, and man, they fought, you know, they have fought gods. They have been to Asgard. They've been in space. They fought down Thanos. I mean, they've just had big adventures that where when they ran outside of that mansion, none of that should have went down the way it did. It was just completely ridiculous, you know. And then for DC, it was Millennium back in the 80s. They had this fantastic Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then they actually started rebuilding, you know, that one Earth with Legends, which led to Justice League and Suicide Squad, and you know, they were getting their shit together. And then all of a sudden they come out with this Millennium, and it was Steve Englehart and Joe Stanton, I think, drawing the book, and it was a weekly series, and it was tying in, and you started finding out that all these superheroes had sleeper agents that were manhunters in their life. You know, I'm like, what? You know, so I think Wally West's dad was a manhunter, and they stuck one in Kansas and all this other stuff, and I was just like, dear God, what are they doing? And then what do we get out of that? We get like, what the hell were they called? New Guardians with the Floronic Man, and I don't know who those people were, you know. So like I said, it was a big manhunter conspiracy, I guess, and the Guardians of Oa, the Green Lantern people, had come to Earth to say the new Guardians were coming, and then they disappeared, and you got the Green Lantern Corps out of it. I don't know, you know, it was ridiculous. Don't sound right. Anyway, favorite comic jail. But my favorite comic jail for DC is the Phantom Zone. The Phantom Zone. I mean, think about it. You don't age in there, but you're a Phantom. You're surrounded by smoke. I've got a mini-series where it shows it's in there. It's actually got monsters in it, the original Phantom Zone and stuff. But yeah, the Phantom Zone. You know, you had to have a Phantom Zone projector. You're into the another dimension, more or less, is what I think it was. Mon-El was dying of lead poisoning, and they stuck him in there, and he ended up spending 1,000 years in there with the worst of the worst psychopathic criminals of Krypton, you know. And then for DC, I kind of wanted to go with the negative zone that they did during, was it Civil War? I don't know, man, but they made a prison in the negative zone there a couple years ago. But for me, I don't know if it was considered a prison, but it had something to do with Project Pegasus. They've had the Guardsman. They had Marvel Boy, who became Quasar as chief of security there. They had the Guardsman years later become one of them. Tony Stark built these green armored costumes with weapons and stuff, so they could be guards there and stuff like that. And I just remember reading some Marvel 2-in-1s way back in the day. And I just was just fascinated, you know, because it's like, I remember the jail cells were specifically made to hold that villain, you know. Need to go back and look at that. But yeah, that was my favorite one in Marvel, you know, whether it was a prison or not. I know it was underground or something, and it seems like it was like in Colorado or somewhere out there. But that's it. I'm going to go with Project Pegasus. Alright guys, that's it. That's my tag video. Thanks for tagging me, Ghostcritic. A lot of fun. Hope I didn't disappoint. It is 1:30 in the morning, and I just made this about 10 minutes before I shut the video. Shooting from the hip. Okay, later.